after months of hiatus.
I know, man. We had to
Yeah.
wait. We had to wait out the summer.
Cheers,
Cheers,
man.
bro.
So Coffee Talks season 2, I guess.
Fucking winter season.
Oh man, after a
fall
fucking
season?
30-minute delay that people will never know because
Technical difficulties.
yeah. All right, man. We're here. It's November fucking 6th,
Yeah.
2017.
I remember because yesterday.
I
was 5th of
remember November last year. And it was I think we were doing the day after or something the election, which was sometime about a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Where
right.
we're like, oh man,
election
game
special.
changer. So 1 year post.
Fuck,
what are your
yeah,
thoughts?
that's right.
It's a good question, right?
Well, he hasn't
Got some
technically
heaters,
been.
bro. Got some heaters like some like good heater questions like, oh dad, that's a good question, man. Like, fuck yeah, that is a good question. Like
So,
1 year post Trump.
How has it been?
We've survived a year,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and,
Yeah.
you know, hopefully we last another year. So,
Right?
a few more years.
That's the crazy like I mean all right, so I think clearly because it's and everybody's like Twitter feed or just news feed in general, like when it comes to the Texas thing that happened yesterday,
Oh, sad.
right?
Yeah.
In the past year with Trump being president, mass shootings have been a problem, but I feel like in the past year, definitely something that's like we should cover is like the natural disasters and how he's reacted over that.
We had 3 hurricanes.
Yeah, man.
That-
How do you like?
The earthquake in Mexico.
How have you seen his response when it comes to natural reactions or natural disasters
Yeah.
and his reaction towards them compared to not even Obama because he was much different, but let's say even pre-Obama, like to the Bush years where he had some natural disasters that he had to confront, and
Yeah.
there's some shit going on when it comes to that. And I think that's more of like I wanted to see your perspective on that, like how. What do you think? What do you think's been the biggest change when it comes to that? Like how he's been able to deal with them?
I don't think he took it into consideration the fact that he as a leader in command would
Yeah.
have to react to things like that, to a natural disaster. I don't know if he figured like those things would take care of themselves or somebody else would take care of him. But no, I mean, if you're, it's the government's job to help take care of the position. That's why people created government, was to help take care of them. Like we need somebody to help coordinate the roads, somebody to help coordinate the state, somebody to help coordinate somebody to help coordinate the laws and all that, because we as the normal Americans are working.
Yeah,
We can't
feel overwhelmed by being able, like, oh yeah, it's not my not my duty to respond to a natural disaster.
Yeah, so
in
we
another
pay our government
state.
to help take care of us.
Yeah.
We pay it, we elect them. It's supposed to be for us.
Yeah, and ultimately it's up to one person to decide how to where to put those funds in.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's somewhat, it is and it isn't. Because
Well, I mean,
Congress still has a say in when they're
Yeah.
going to start bringing in FEMA.
Yeah,
But
the fact that
man,
he kind of hesitated is kind of
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, like no, that's a natural disaster. Or when
yeah.
somebody had brought it up, Trevor Noah had brought up when there was a mass shooting in Vegas, or when there was a mass shooting that happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was kind of quick to come out and point the fingers and do shit like that. But when those white dudes with the torches and shit
Yeah.
were beating up
Yeah.
all those people out in North Carolina or South Carolina, or when that guy drove his fucking car. Oh, that's the example.
New
we
York
gave.
City. Yeah.
The
That
New
was
York
what,
City. The New York.
That was not even a
Like
week
this week, I
ago.
think, yeah.
it was
But
last
the
week.
dude
Yeah.
in New York City that drove into those group of people
Yeah.
came out and fucking said,
Yeah, there has to be some type of ban when it comes to
he wanted the death
extreme
penalty.
vetting, and he deserves the death penalty because he's a radical Islamist, and
But yeah, when a fucking racist white dude does it to a group of fucking hippies,
it's okay.
he's
it's
like,
not
oh,
okay,
I wanted. He said, I wanted to know the facts before I came out and did some statement.
Yeah.
The fuck?
That's so weird. Even today with this the Texas thing, and this is like one of those things that I've been wanting to get other people's perspective on, because I know for me it's becoming this where it's you're almost getting, not like sick and tired of them, but you're getting conditioned to know that like, okay, I know this is going to happen, but in 2 or 3 days, the world's going to move on because there's going to be another story. And all right, like I'll feel bad for a moment, but unless it's a huge one, like a massive shooting that like happened in Vegas where that made you feel sad for about a week or so, not like for some people, there was in a week after there was already something else going on that, and usually it's another mass shooting that, or some type of terror attack that happened either here or in Western civilization, where now our focus and our thoughts and prayers go towards that. You know, the shifting of thoughts and prayers, and it's just like, man, like I was telling this to my girlfriend, where she's like, man, like, are you gonna invest? Like, you know, this guy, like, he had mental issues and stuff. I'm like, I don't even want to invest. Like, I'm not even trying to investigate what's gonna happen with this person or what's his background or.
Oh, are you talking about the guy from Texas?
The Texas guy. Because I'm pretty sure by the end of the week or by next week, there'll be something else terrible going on in the news, like some other shooting or some other. And that's kind of fucked up to think of like that we're getting used to that already. Do you feel like you're getting used to it, man? Like, have you been feeling that? Like, have you felt that shift in mood where
big time, dude,
where you're just getting so used to this? You're getting, like you said, you're getting anesthetized to the feeling of a mass shooting.
I remember when I was a kid and Columbine happened.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude, we grieved over that for months. Yeah. 9/11 happened and we grieved over that for like some more months. Like, it felt like 3 months at least. You know, the thing in Vegas really fucked with me. I was like, oh shit, man, like, this is close to home.
Yeah.
They say that in one of the classes that I took, that the ratio of your importance level is like, if it's 10 deaths within 10 miles of you, it's pretty, like it's more serious to you.
You feel more connected towards it, to the tragedy.
If it's 100 deaths within 100 miles for you, you're connected to it. Because 100 miles is really like not that far. You're not even leaving the state at that point. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the ratio he said, but eventually got up to like, you know, if it's 10,000 deaths in Africa, are you really gonna care? Yeah, it's like, damn, that's a lot of motherfucking people. Yeah, but at the same time, you're not really gonna care. But at the same time, as I'm progressing as a human being, mm-hmm. I'm also realizing that I need to, you know, signal out a lot of the things that are outside of my control. You know, like I need to not worry about what's going on with the world. If I need to be in peace, within my being.
Your own world, within your own story,
and I need to figure out I need to know how to master myself before I can master the world. Yeah, and that goes to saying, like, as sad as it is to say, you shouldn't ignore these things, because that is something you need to address in your daily life. Like, you should address love in your daily lives.
But it's almost like what's that talk? Like a break room talk. Like, it's becoming break room talk. Oh, what's the last tragedy that occurred? Yeah. Oh, well, you know, this week this happened. Oh yeah, man, it's sad.
Yeah. But you guys watched the Cowboys game yesterday?
Yeah. It's become like, that's how, like, tragedies have just become so part of our daily lives. And that's so weird, man. Like that's something that I feel like, I don't know if it's more because of media, like because we're so engulfed with media now that like it seems like it's more, or that like you're always seeing that tragedy when it's happening, because it is the biggest news and you know that's gonna get the best clicks. So writers are gonna write any possible thing connecting to it, because Huffington Post is gonna get more traffic through this instead of writing some other thing. Yeah, like I get that, but it's just weird, man. It's weird how they're just like dropping stories, bringing up stories, like, and we're just talking about tragedies. We haven't even got to like the whole, like, you know, like the Hollywood scandals of, like, you know, sexual abuse and like the Harvey Weinstein and like like these people have been calling out, you know, some, like the Weinstein case, of course, are like, that's pretty monstrous, but other allegations are exactly what they said. Like, they're allegations. There hasn't been any, like, I think there was somebody, I think on like KCR or like a reporter, where, you know, social media is instead of what is when you're in court, you're innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
But in social media, you're guilty until proven innocent. And I really like that. Really like reflected or resonated with me because there's I don't know if you've heard this story, like kind of sidetracking with the tragedy, but it's somewhere you're probably not gonna even think of, like, well, I can't believe you took it there. Like 3 weeks ago, there was a Nelly case. Nelly got there was some allegations.
Yeah.
Nelly, if people don't know who Nelly is, like this hip hop, like former early 2000s rapper, who had allegations of like some sexual misconduct, or like he harassed a girl, and and you get the story and you're like, oh, that doesn't sound like Nelly at all, and then you start seeing that on Twitter for like a full day of previous encounters with other other people start coming out, and it's like, oh, he's done some pretty shady stuff before, and then the allegations get dropped, and then even her her reasons for dropping the allegations were because supposedly she got threatened, or she just didn't want to keep going with the suit. She didn't want any money, so she dropped it. And some people were saying, oh, like, maybe Nelly or his men threatened her to don't keep going forward with these legal accusations. So stop, or else bad shit's gonna happen to you. And she dropped the cases. But then now it's like, oh, okay, now Nelly's good. And social media has like a really weird way of making a person guilty, because it's gonna create that bubble, and it's gonna create that trending topic in Twitter.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden a person's career's ruined before he even had a opportunity to tell the public, I guess.
Yeah.
That these were just allegations. He didn't really do this.
Thank God R. Kelly was during the days of like.
See, R. Kelly's a bad example.
Dude, R. Kelly would have been fucking done with if it happened nowadays.
That maybe this doesn't go like but there's some weird ones, man. I've been noticing that, and I don't know if it's maybe because the people I listen to also have like, they're more of a centrist also, like they're not fully leaning left or leaning right.
Yeah.
But they're just observing, and you're like, fuck, man, like that's not right out. Like this is why the right, or this is why like the hardcore right or Republicans go look at like the left is just attacking anybody and everybody, and like this is not. That might not be the right way to approach it. I'm not saying it's the wrong way, but I just feel like there could possibly be a different way of doing this when it comes to like defaming these important, people and fame, and then just doing it so fast,
Ultimately, it's if there's money in it, people are gonna take an interest. So. Yeah. With that being said, things that are going to make money are never going to go away. Prostitution is never going to go away because that's easy money. Drugs, not going to go away because people are willing to pay whatever they want to for drugs.
Yeah.
So whatever draws in money, that's not going to go away. So now that we have social media, I mean, back then when we watched advertisements, where would you see them? On TV, on the billboards, in the magazines. You'd actually have to make an effort to see them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You'd have to be in the car. You'd have to watch TV. You'd have to be in the magazine. Now, we're getting advertisements on our phones. So, yeah, you need to log onto the apps, but they're there in your hand whenever you want to. So, the news articles, the most shocking thing, the thing that's going to get you clicking most on the apps that you love, that's what the advertisers are going to want to see. So there's so much money that's invested into to these internet companies that can kind of help think how you're thinking. That's why they got all these Google Home things. Like these, the Google Home, the little
Amazon Echo and Google Home,
all that shit. Because the speaker's always
Alexa,
on.
right? Like the Alexa.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I mean, I have an Amazon Fire Stick. I never use it, but it's there. It's there.
But I don't think. I think the Fire Stick can listen to you, but I'm not sure. But
anyhow, the new ones have the little microphone. And you just go, Alexa, go on Netflix.
I have one of those, but my remote broke, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Anyhow. No. So put it this way: me and my buddy were watching football or something. I think we were watching YouTube videos or some bullshit, and they were talking about what do you want to eat. And then we started saying, oh, we kind of want pizza. Let's order some pizza. And then we started watching YouTube videos, and guess what the commercials were on? Fucking Pizza Hut. And so much technology is being made just to give them an advantage to advertise to you. So now it's not becoming if you're logging into the New York Post every day and you're not paying for the service, you're just reading their website, that's going to be that's going to be reasons for advertisements because you're going to that page every day. But New York Post not seeing money off of you. You're not paying them. So the advertisers are going to be like, dude, fucking million people go to this webpage every hour. I need to put my advertisements on there. Yeah. So now the money side of it is coming from these advertisers, like saying, oh, I want to advertise because you're getting the most hits. So does it really matter, the content that's being put out or the wow factor that they're going to get so you can go to the webpage and see the advertisements?
Well, the clickbait, right? I mean, there's a term for it.
That's exactly what it is. And so much money is being invested into it from all these companies because they want to make more money. And I think ultimately that's the way that our culture is going, because I try to study meditation. Yeah. And in meditation, they tell you that your brain is always working. Yeah. There's no, you're always thinking of some dumb shit going this way, going that way. And so that's why it's good to me. I'm not as great at it and I don't practice it as much as I should, but meditating to train your thoughts to be in a certain way. But imagine somebody who had no training on their thoughts and just let their thoughts go everywhere. That means your thoughts are, oh, the shooting here. Oh, but Dancing with the Stars is on. This guy's going to be on there. Oh, it's your mind's going to be going elsewhere and elsewhere and elsewhere and elsewhere. Especially if it's in the palm of your hand and you know nothing of being disciplined or being just on a narrow path in your own mind. And not very many people study meditation or do meditative things like going to the gym or doing something that gets you outside of your head. Keeps you in control. Yeah.
I mean, you find your, I mean, for me, I guess for a lot of people, I think they're and it's not really meditation, but it's their only, like, obviously for people who work out, that's where they find the moment where you can't really be thinking about other thoughts besides whatever's going on in the now,
Makes the voices go away.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But I think music, like depending on the music that you're playing while you're driving down, at least for people in California, if you're stuck in traffic somewhere, depending on the song or something, like you're gonna have that moment of you kind of stop thinking about what's going on, but then it comes like it's almost like clock, especially if you're if you don't disengage those pop-ups on your phone. I mean, I'm pretty sure in like 10 or 15 minutes, something's going to go up here from like Politico or the New York Times or whatever news subscription thing that I have on Twitter or that I have the news app, and like, oh, this is like, how does Apple even know that I might be interested in something like that? So tracking. And it pops it up. Oh, this suggestion, this news article that you might want to read. So I would say like, it's really difficult to find 15 minutes of not thinking about what is going on within your phone or what happened, like what's new. Did I miss something on Twitter, or did I miss something like news? Some news, some breaking news, right? And that's like, I feel like that all like constant need to always be in the circle of the know, at least for a person like me, because I guess that's like, I like to try to take pride in myself of like having some a small understanding of what's going on at least within the United States of like major news, like not fucking local news. And even that, I have the Whittier Daily News on my phone, so I could see like, oh, cool, this little art, like, okay, I like just to kind of be well informed, Yeah. But man, I like, for a person, especially for a younger person who, like you said, might not be able to control that or like to find a way, like I could definitely see that becoming some type, like within the future, becoming almost some type of like not mental illness, but something that's like harming you.
I think it's like, definitely correlated. It'll definitely have some correlation because I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to give too much up about myself, but I work with the youth.
Yeah. You work.
I work with the youth. I feel I can work hand in hand. Everybody
just
can
having family members, man. You know, seeing your cousins or seeing your girlfriend's little sisters who are approaching that age and they know everything that's going on with their YouTube stars. Like and if they don't know, you could almost tell that they're a little like they take pride in knowing what the latest episode of whatever YouTube channel that they watch, and it's like cool, like we know, it's like keeping up with their favorite TV show. You want to, if you didn't watch that Game of Thrones episode the day before, you're not going to be, when you go to work or wherever you go, you're not going to be able to contribute to the conversation, and what everybody wants to be included in is within that group, whatever group that may be.
Yeah. And I've always said that. I've always agreed that like it's acceptance in a group is very key.
It's key to why everybody fucking does what they do, right? But
being part of something is good. Having acceptance so you can have identity is always good. So I definitely know what you're talking about, but I definitely know that that's not the key to life,
Yeah.
That there's life is a lot bigger than the fucking break room conversations you have.
Of course, but like it's that life is bigger than that. But when every day, like I would say, think about the majority of things you did, like the most impactful things you did that day, or that went on through that day, typically have some type of connection with what you saw on your phone. Like this, like or did on your phone. Like some either
I see some pretty funny fucking memes out there,
dude. Yeah, memes. I mean, let's say whatever you watch, whatever you listen to, it's all coming from one source. So even if you're not really going through social media, it's still coming from a source, and I mean that's where me and my sister, we went. She goes to Northridge, and we're about to take off, and she forgot her phone, and we're like right at the edge of the block of I was picking her up, and she's like, oh my god, and I honestly forgot. I felt like she forgot something like or maybe she left the stove on or something terrible, but it was just, we need to go back. I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, I forgot my phone. And I didn't even go like, dude, like you overreacted. I'm like, oh, of course. It wasn't one of those, like, I feel like maybe 5 years ago or something, you would have been like, whoa, chill. Like, that's not that big of a deal. It's just your phone.
Yeah.
But at a certain point now, you're like, whoa.
Yeah. Because
your phone is way more important than anything you're wearing, anything you have. Like,
yeah, because it has become a really good tool for humans, absolutely, to keep us connected with each other. But with that connectedness, it feels really good to be disconnected sometimes from everybody else for a while.
Yeah, it does. I mean, there's definitely moments, like at least like late at night, when you're just like, I don't turn it off, but I read this guy on that Tim Ferriss podcast that I was talking. This guy's Jocko. He's like a former Marine, like special, or what is a SEAL, I guess, or no, that's a Navy SEAL, right?
And
so
the Marines
Marine,
have
like
the recon.
Yeah, so I think that one of those special force guys, and he puts his phone an hour before he goes to bed. He puts it on airplane mode, so no, and if he tells somebody like, if it's important enough that I need to know while I'm sleeping, like you'll find a way of contacting me, like But he'll put his phone on airplane mode before he goes to bed. At least for those 6 to 8 hours, Just hearing that kind of like, oh man, like what happens? Like what if the worst happens? And you're always preparing for the worst to happen. That's why you have your phone, and that's like imagine. And then I'm like, fuck, like imagine the anxiety, like just that added layer of anxiety that everybody has of going, hey man, we can't turn off our phones, or we can't put our phones on airplane mode. Like, we're gonna be disconnected from all of our loved ones. And then I go, that was only 20 years ago. Like 20 years ago, people, when they would when your parents, I mean, we lived this, when your parents would send you off when you were a teenager still, you didn't have no form of communication. Like, I remember my mom gave me one time like a
pager.
Not a pager, but like those phone cards, like those 1-800 to like 111
for like $10,
and then and it has like $10 or something, or like it has like not credit, but I think you call and then they charge the phone line. She's like, just if you ever just grab a payphone, call this number, and call the house, and we'll take care of it, you know, and like it charges the landline.
Okay.
That was the emergency contact, you know? And now we're in a state where a 5th grader is already wanting a phone, like a cell phone, because some of her friends who are 5th graders or 6th graders have phones. And you're like, damn, like that means the kids today, or who are going to be graduating high school now, are going to be growing up with phones from 9-10 years old. I mean, what's a 5th grader? 10, 11 years old? You know?
Yeah.
So they maybe have 5 years of memory of memory without their own phone, like their own personal cell phone.
Yeah.
They've always had their parents' phones that they could use, but now they have their own from 5th grade, bro. Like, do you feel like that's, or, you know, like obviously hypothetical, or? Do you feel like that's a bit excessive, or like how would you, you know, challenge that situation? You know, if you had a kid that was asking you in 5th grade, hey, I want a phone already.
I think a lot of the imagination to be taken away from childhood, which to me, that's what develops your creativity, is your imagination as a child. I don't know if you remember playing with your little action figures.
Yeah.
When you were a kid and you know, this is the base and we're going to get these guys or whatever it was. The imagination is always there for a child. I mean, it's there for us too as adults. It's just that we're busy doing things, so we sometimes don't get a chance to be creative as we want to sometimes, which is fine. But as a child, I was, let's say, fascinated by Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say that I wanted to learn how to fly. I'd go on YouTube because I know how to do it at fucking, you know, 9, 10 years old, 8, 9 years old. I look at videos of how to fly, and I see a bunch of fucking idiots flying out of the tree. Oh, it's funny, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, my imagination is no longer there. Now I want to do dumb shit because I'm making people laugh.
Yeah.
Or not saying that that's the way youth are going, because it's not. I'm saying that the imagination is being taken away from a kid, and if you take the imagination away from a child, it's going to be a lot of depression, because one of the beautiful things about being a child is that you're naive to the world.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, I didn't know. I would fucking, you know, see pictures of islands and beaches and waves and castles and just fucking crazy things. You know, I would see pictures of him. But I would, how else could I see them? Like, there was no fucking internet at the time.
Yeah.
You know? I didn't know.
Magazines at best.
Yeah, magazines. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know what encyclopedias were. You know? I remember people would come to your house and sell you gigantic libraries of encyclopedias. You have to make monthly payments.
Yeah. Oh, man. I still remember, like, one of the first, I think, watching Modern Marvels. Or is it Modern Marvels? A History Channel? Like that show, the Modern Marvels. And they would do, like, or How It's Made, like that. Like, seeing those type of shows on History Channel when I was
a kid.
10 or 11. Man, that shit would blow. And, like, obviously History Channel has a lot of, because it's just like the same thing as every other network, every TV network. They're just whatever hits and they'll just roll with that. Like now it's just ice road truckers and fucking the Las Vegas one, like what is it, which is cool. I like it, but it's not just, that show where they auction shit off or whatever. The Pawn Stars, Pawn Stars, and like all like Ancient Aliens is the coolest one, and that's not even. I mean, I've watched a lot of those episodes, but it's again like back to my point where when I was a kid, a lot of the things I learned of history were from, or science, just in general science. I think that's the Discovery Channel and the National Geographic Channel have still been able to keep true
cool shit, right?
to their documentaries, and like BBC has like that partnership, I think, with National Geographic or something, where they come out with some fucking amazing documentaries still. Yeah. But History Channel, like that's one of those where I watched it just like oh man, I remember seeing the Shroud of Turin. Do you remember that? Like that, like the it's like a cloth and it's supposed to be like Jesus' body that's like, you know, it like hit the shroud or whatever. So it's like, oh, it's like a blessed you know, if this is the actual image of Jesus or whatever.
Oh, damn.
Like seeing that at like 10 or 12 years old and going,
yeah,
you know, like I did not, like at 12 years old going, fuck, that is insane, you know, and like shit like that. Or I remember like Nostradamus, you remember that, you know, Nostradamus, like the like seeing documentaries or like those like, oh, Nostradamus, or like the Mayan calendar shit, like all that stuff, going, fuck, this is amazing. And even though it was still a short 1 hour, I couldn't I didn't know how to Google more research on that, you know? So there was still some of that, like you said, like a little bit of that creativity to just like expand your fucking, expand that, like that little nugget of information you got to like, oh wow, like I could totally. But now I feel like I think we've talked about this before, but like just to re-highlight this, like the fact that they just like you Google everything. I mean, that's I could only imagine being a kid going, I think, oh no, it was in episode 8 where this happened in the show, and then the other kid going, like instead of just going, okay, yeah, whatever, like that's not the point of the story anyway, so it doesn't matter what episode it was in. But then having that one kid who's like, I'm gonna Google what actually, just to prove wrong. And Google has become such a great tool to proving people wrong. That everybody, unless you're like you have the fucking memory of, you know, like photographic memory, it's really hard to just focus. And I feel like people have become more hyper focused on that, on making sure every fact of your story is correct. Well, you're missing the point of like the conversation or the interaction within a person. That's really the important part, you know? And I feel like that's, I don't know, but I feel like that's having a brother-in-law, girlfriend's little brother who's 18 now. And I could see that in the past 6 months from him graduating high school to in college going like, man, I love it. It's a great experience and everything. But I barely see any of my friends now, and like unless it's on the weekends going out, like we don't hang out like that vital time during the week when we would just hang out and just bullshit and talk about whatever was going on. That doesn't exist anymore. I'm like, oh buddy, that's gone. And that's probably like, unless you're finding reasons or ways of doing that, which is kind of like this, it's difficult to have that like like the important part is the interaction. It's not so much the conversation or like the full fact of the conversation, you know? And I feel like that's for kids. The internet has really fucking like the loss of creativity, but the loss of connection with. I mean, not even connection, but like maybe like I guess like blindly, you know, trust, like a blind trust on your friend of having that like whatever. I'm pretty sure he's bullshitting on like half of this story, but it's probably half true story, like 75% true story. Whatever, like we'll just keep hearing it, you know, instead of going, nope, like that, you're totally wrong, man. Like you're not even in the right episode, or you're not even in the right whatever, because I'll Google it in 30 seconds and like, therefore I'm not even going to pay attention to you at all.
I've been guilty of doing that though.
Yeah.
Googling.
Oh, dude, everybody has, man. Everybody has, you know?
This is fake and fucking.
Like if you go, oh, how was the Cowboys game yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the game was sick. You know, like in the fourth quarter, they scored a touchdown. Maybe like in minute 2 or like around the second minute or something. It was super sick. The end of the game was like, I think 45-17. And you're like, it was actually 43-12.
Yeah. It's like
you know, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, what does it matter? Like, why does that matter? You know, that I've been guilty of doing that, and when I get that, also like when I receive that, it's just so like, what? Nah, like you totally missed the point of. The whole of everything. You miss the whole point of it all by just being that guy.
I've been
I imagine kids being like that, man. Fuck.
Some fucking kid came up to me. I had mispronounced a word or the last name of something or someone. He's like, "Oh, it's pronounced so and so." And I'm like, "You little motherfucker!" Man. Like, you knew exactly what I was talking about, but you had to correct me.
Yeah, like you still think that's the cool way, like. And I don't understand why a person, or like, what is there to gain from something like that? You know, that's always something that like, if I could talk to my 18, 19-year-old self, you know, and I see it also with, you know, with the very few interactions that I have with again, like the 18-year-old that I do have a deep relationship with. And, you know, interact, like I see his little friends here and there that come to the house and shit. And, you know, it's that idea of like, you don't have to be a smart ass all the time, or you don't always have to be like, you know, oh, this was not that great, or like, it's not cool to not like something, you know, or it's not, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like at that age, it's always it's cool, it's seeked upon, or like it's, you know, you give like to be a harsher critic, or to be a,
I'm gonna eat this real quick.
That's fine, man, yeah. But to be like that person who's like,
sorry I didn't bring it up.
Who's like, is it Halloween candy or what?
I think
no, trick or treating, bro.
No, it's from my nephew's party.
Cool. Yeah, but like that's one of those things where you're like, fuck, man. Like if you really, like that, I know for me, like that, time like teaches you that, but it's like there's been so many conversations like that in the past couple of months where I've had, where if it was my old, like even let's say 2-3 years ago, I might have interjected in that conversation and try to give a more like factual opinion, or a stronger point on something. And now I'm just like, I don't like the few interactions that I'm having more and more with, you know, other adults. It's like, to be that stickler, it's just so like nobody wants to hang out with that guy, or like nobody wants to fucking, you know, and that's like, I guess people who are like into the humanities, you always try to become almost like that negative Nancy of like, fuck, like, you know, this really all is like just like, you'll probably say like the worst possible outcome of something, because it's probably it's happened before, you know, and then everybody just gets a little grim and like, oh fuck, man, that's pretty sad, or damn, okay, we didn't want to take it that far, you know. That is something that I see that reoccurring with the youth, and they're just doing the same circle, and I'm like, oh man, like you're gonna learn really quickly, man. And that's just not something that's like, it's not a desirable trait. But I don't know where people learn at that age that that's something cool to have, you know, like that's like, it's cool to be, you know, not tough, but like a smart ass, or to be like I don't give a fuck, or does it, you know, like to be that type of person. It's weird, man.
Yeah. I think I'm only talking about in my experience, that when my mind started to expand and I really started to venture out and learn the things that I wanted to learn post high school, not the things I was forced to learn. Yeah. I felt that I was smarter than a lot of people. Yeah. Because a lot of people that I knew weren't going to college. A lot of the adults that I knew in my personal life hadn't gone to college. So I felt that I was smarter than a lot of people. Which technically, maybe I'm book smarter. Yeah, that's it. I don't know shit. I mean,
it's a weird chip. It's a weird chip to have on your shoulder.
Yeah. Know, like, so I know. I can speak on that I've personally have been through that, but I've also learned that I have to my flaws, when I see them in other people, I shouldn't bother me so much. You know? Yeah. Like when I see kids that are lazy, I'm lazy as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's why when I see these lazy kids, I'm like, dude, you're not gonna do this, or you're not gonna do that. Just get the fuck up and do it right now, and just be lazy later.
Yeah. Because you understand, like you could relate.
Yeah, but I always have to take a step back and be like, do you practice what you preach? Yeah. And I'm like, fuck. Well, I gotta really, I was like that, you know, and I shouldn't get bothered when other people are like that. I should take it with a grain of salt and focus on me, you know? Yeah. And I think we all go through certain phases, and when we see shit in other people that's flawed in us.
I wonder what I'm gonna be saying in my 30s, or like in my mid 30s, early 30s, of how I am in my mid 20s, of going like, yeah, bro, like you're worrying too much on this or this, or like you were too just, and I feel like that's probably like, just relax, man. Like everything's gonna align fine. Just don't take it so, don't add unnecessary stress to things that might, or maybe if anything, out of your control to do. And that's what especially when it comes to like global topics and stuff like that. That's one of those things that I've learned to do. But it still gives me that like, I want to know, but I don't venture off too deep into having. That's why I'm like, fuck, like it would be really cool to be a journalist, but I don't want to have an opinion on, like I don't find it necessary to have an opinion on all these things. And that's speaking as a person who's pretty, again, like not to have that chip on his shoulder, but like I feel like I kind of have a decent understanding on those things. And I imagine somebody who hasn't gone not even a full year of a post high school education.
Yeah.
Like how are they supposed to like? And that's like they feel pressured to have opinions on things where they might not even want to have an opinion on it, or they just frankly don't care. Like you said, like some people just don't care.
Yeah.
And then there's days where I'm like, fuck, I wish I had that ability to not care about those things that much. You know what I mean? Like that much. Yeah.
I've been you know me, I'm a political science major, and I used to stay up on all the topics and do all that. After graduating college, I stopped paying attention to politics, and I still don't. I mean, I used to love watching The Daily Show because it was fucking funny to me.
Yeah, I mean,
and it still is, but that's kind of not really news. I mean, it's entertainment. It keeps you informed in a very entertaining way, but not in depth. But anyhow, I'd taken a step back from all of that because I found that when I did get into politics, I'd find a lot of there'd be a lot of imbalance in my heart, you know, a lot of my spirit would be in bad nature, and it would just piss me off because I'm so passionate about the subject.
Yeah.
So I have to personally take a step back, and then I don't know any of the reporters out there.
And then you always go like, I wonder how biology people feel when it comes to this. Like, are they always needing to know the newest thing for medicine? Like, you know, like, and it's because we're humanities majors. You find it so important to try to be connected to humanity, like to whatever consciousness that global that United States mentality is that day or that week.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it, you feel fucking oddly disconnected.
Yeah.
You know, it's just weird. You know,
I have taken a step back, and I am disconnected from all that. More so, I mean, I know what's happening. A lot of these things are out of my control. Like all the FBI investigations, all that.
We haven't even gone into. There's so many things.
But the thing is, I'm not too knowledgeable on that because I'm not up to date on it. My dad was just kind of briefing me on it not so long ago. And then I have a brother-in-law who's a hardcore Trump supporter, and he tries to school me on all these modern things. And I try to explain to him, like, dude, I don't watch these things. I studied history, I studied politics, and I've taken a step back from it. Yeah. And now I can look at it and be like, we're going down this path. Yeah. This is what's going on.
You still understand the Republican agenda. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what president they have at the moment. You still understand what their agenda is. And if you're a person who's not a Republican-leaning idealist, you're probably going to disagree with it. Like, I don't care what presidential nominee is in that party. At the end of the day, like, I don't agree with the majority, not all, because there's some Republican stances that I do.
Ron Paul.
Yeah, that I do hold that I hold to, you know. But there is the majority of their positions. I'm just not. I don't connect with them, and that's not to say like I hate the fucking party because of that. It's just like it's not my jazz, man. You know, like it's not what I believe in.
Yeah.
That like, and that's the weird thing where most people would not eat, like they're just so like, this is my fucking guy, like don't fuck with, like, you know, this, like he like this, he isn't the issue, it's this guy. It's like why, you know, like,
I think people have,
this isn't sports, man. You know.
But even still, I feel that you're right. I myself never have and probably never will vote for a Republican. I mean, unless there's a good one that comes by that I kind of like Ron Paul. I would have voted for Ron Paul. Yeah. But anyhow, I also feel that it's good to go against your team or to whoever it is. That's why when I see, you know, the whole Colin Kaepernick issue, when people were taking a knee and doing things like that, oh, you know, you're supposed to get your country's back or your government's back no matter what. It's like, dude, you can love your country but hate the leadership. Yeah. I mean, I've been on fucking many teams and seen the captains and be like, dude, you're a fucking joke, bro. Yeah. Like, you're not a captain, dude. You're just trying to fucking kiss the coach's ass. You don't know shit. Mm-hmm. And it's okay to do that because you still want to be part of the team. You still want to win. You just feel that it would be better if it went in a different direction.
Yeah.
And I feel it's good to do that.
Now, do you feel like most of those people who have that mentality are usually like the people who probably have that mentality also with sports, you know, who probably can't really differentiate, kind of how we were saying, like those people who really didn't, who don't, like who perhaps view their politics in the same blanket, you know, their passions and their emotions, which ultimately leads to the way they view the opposing team, are almost ideal. Like if you could get a brain scan of how the person reacts, let's say this person's a fucking Green Bay Packers fan, right? Mm-hmm. And so when he sees his rival Vikings, right? Yeah. Something lights up in whatever part of the brain where the hatred comes, and that same thing happens when he's talking when it comes to politics. Like he can't really have the ability to disconnect that type of energy or that type of mentality. Yeah. And I have a theory that like most of the people who are probably in that position like have traits of extreme fanaticism towards other. If you're an extreme fanatic of a political party or of a politician, you probably have those traits when it comes to other aspects of your life. You know what I mean? Like you could probably, like it's kind of like it's not just one flaw. Like it will trickle down into other characters of your life. And I feel like that's like most of the people that I've had the conversation who are very true in that nature, or who are very passionate about a politician or a team, a political team, they have that when it comes to sports or even sports. Yeah, let's say sports. I was just trying to say like maybe music or something, but they have that really quick inclination to be like, I'm for this and against that, instead of like, all right, well, I'm against this, but like I'm for this, but why am I for this? Instead of just going, no, I'm just against that. I don't know why. I'm just against it. Yeah. I don't know.
I think maybe that's. I mean, and not just. This is just something I'm thinking about right now, not something I thought. Maybe that's how some racism gets passed down. Like
dude. Yeah, of course, right? Like, I mean, okay, I get what you're saying. Like, if there's probably some type of correlation between like racist people, and fanaticism in sports, or some type of like if it shows in some other aspect of their character.
Yeah, to be just following something. Just following something one way and knowing that that's the only way. Yeah. Like let's say, in the case of Nelson Mandela, when he got out of jail and he got voted into power, and then he used the presidential guards who were white to help be part of his personal unit. Mm-hmm. When his wife was afraid. Yeah. His wife was afraid because she's like, dude, these are the same people that fucking put you into jail. Yeah. Like they look exactly like the guys that wanted to jail us for doing the right thing. And Nelson Mandela was like, nah, like we got to move past that. Yeah. But imagine if they stayed stuck on that, and then some of Mandela's children saw that. Well, they're going to start hating white people. Yeah. And they're going to pass that shit down. So I think it's good to take a step back and take everything individually and not as a whole. Like, let's say, I don't know, let's say I try some waffles and they fucking suck, and that's my first time tasting waffles. Yeah. I'm never going to want to eat waffles again. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's such a human thing to, like, I mean, that team thing, right? But, like,
as an adult, you should
team waffles or pancakes or French toast, like.
Yeah.
Fuck, I like all three, man.
Yeah, give me like, one of each, bro.
Depends on my mood, man. Like, it's one of those things, and it's also like that with, like with the, I mean, we're from LA, and the Dodgers were going on with the whole thing, and I'm not even a fucking baseball fan at all, like 80 to 90% of the people who were fucking watching, is this shit on? Oh yeah, it's on. Who were watching the Dodger game were like, unless it was a World Series, they probably wouldn't be watching a Dodger game. That was me. Like, I didn't watch a regular season game, bro, unless I was there. And even when I went to 2 regular season games this year, even that. Maybe there was like a inning or two where I'm like, I tuned out, you know, like what's going on? I'm on my phone, I'm having a beer, having a conversation. I'm like, oh, that's right, the game's going on. Like that's
and you hear the crowd. Oh shit!
Yeah, you know,
let's go.
Yeah, that's fucking baseball. The Dodgers is that same thing, you know. I poke at it because I have friends, you know, who are super Dodger fans, and I totally. I find it so cool that they're passionate about it, but you know, it's friendly fun. I'm never the person who, I'm never try to be the person who's like fuck this team, or like fuck this sport's lame, like, or who cares about the Dodgers, or like, oh, you're such a bandwagon person. You're in a team. You're in the anti-sports team. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be saying that about the Dodgers or basketball or football. And I don't, again, like I'm not a true fan of any of those sports, but I like the fact that it's a communal thing that gets people together, that people start giving high fives, and fuck, you maybe had a hard week, and the only time as blue collar workers that like I have in my family, that are my family, you know, that's their moments to get that dopamine rush and to get that rush of fucking communal friendliness, you know?
The feeling of acceptance.
Great. Yeah, that's so, like that form of acceptance, you know? So that's so cool. However, once you realize that that's part of the reason why you find it so fun, that's cool. Then you see the other people who are like, their way of you looking at that is so like, you're speaking to them in like an alien language, bro. Like, what? No, dude, it's Dodgers or nothing. Like, you know, you're like, oh shit. All right, like, you're not getting this, bro. Like, you know, he's like, dude, how can you be a Dodger fan and an Angels fan? And like,
it's fucking possible, yeah.
Trying to have a good time at this kind of sala, bro. Like, that's why.
Yeah.
I don't get it, and I'm like, you don't have to get it. That's fine, you know.
Yeah.
But it's. When you see that, and these are older people, these are, you know, people 20, 30 years older than me. Yeah. You're like, fuck, man. Like, it's so, like, the fact that they're telling me that they don't get it, it's so, I'm like, dude, you're success. I mean, you're successful enough where you have hundreds of thousands of dollars homes, because any part of Los Angeles, homes here are like 400,000 and above.
At least.
You know, you're a homeowner. You have your shit on straight. You know, you have nice cars, nice house. You're a success, right? You're a successful person. Yet it never reflected, or it never went down to this part. Odd. That strikes me as so odd, you know, like where I'm like, and then I go, oh, maybe they're just bullshitting. Like, maybe they're just like, maybe they know that this is not the right way of saying it, but like, or looking at sports, but their generation was like, no, you have to like keep the poker face on until the end of the night when you're home alone, and then you're like, reality, I don't give a fuck. The Dodgers win or not.
Dude.
You know, I don't know.
Sports and all that. It's, I mean, if your life is based around that, that's, you know, you got to seek out some other ways. I mean, maybe hang out with your family, but I mean, sports is fun. That's all. That's all. I mean, every fucking weekend, and I watch football, and it's fun, you know, man. It's fun. You know,
I'm a fucking Cowboys fan by
heredity,
by faith, or like by accident. Yeah. You know, and like that's sort of like it just so happens that, you know, by destiny, or like it just so happens that my family members were in this team or were into this team, and it just trickled, like it just, you know. Cool. I'll, like you said, like, you'll accept the crowd, and you're not going to fight against the crowd, so fuck it. Like, I'll be in the group. When it comes to sports teams like that, and you're like, okay, fine. But, you know, my brother-in-law is a super hard, like I don't even say a hardcore United fan, because he even, like, especially this year, you know, it's one of those things where you're like, you know, like, you're with them, and you're a fan. But that's one of those things that's like, nobody ever and I guess this also goes to that tribal thing, like, you don't want to be that person who's just hopping teams, because there's something so, like, anthropologically speaking, right? Or like that tribally speaking, where you don't want that. You don't want that person in your group who's just, when something gets hot, or when something gets, you know, when it's not looking so bright in this team, you just jump to a different team. And then, like, that's not a trait that human beings in general find as a desirable trait to be that person.
Yeah.
And that's why people don't like that. Like I've always wondered why, like, you know, that bandwagoner is just seen as such a bad, viewed as such a like a bad person, right? But it's something so
I think it's
basic,
a very,
you know, so human to not be a fan of that, you know, of that type of person who does that.
Yeah.
Because you don't like that means somebody like that's not a true, you know, like that person always has your back, but it's not that true connect, like that true member of the group where it's that person who could perhaps stab you in the, like, you know, like
that's
stab you in the back.
Judas,
right? Yeah, it's so these stories are so old, right? And they're so ancient and primeval, right? That they're Bible stories, right? Like this, like you said, the story of Judas, right? Like so you don't want to be that person, but
story of Judas was in
weird,
the
man.
New Testament.
Yeah.
All right.
But even before that, I mean, I think the story of like, I'm pretty sure an Old Testament, a lot of the New Testament stories have some type of Old Testament.
Well, the New
connection.
Testament is post Jesus.
yeah. Like the way you phrase it's the New Testament post Jesus. Like, yeah, dude, PJ.
Oh, it's not gonna be AD anymore, dude. It's gonna be PJ.
That's right now they're in all the history classes now they don't use
BCE.
AD. Yeah, before Common Era, after, you know, and like everybody goes, come on, we all know what it really is. You're just trying to change that C to a common, but it's Christ, man.
We know what
it's
it
fucking
is.
Christ.
We know who changed history.
Yes, Christ changed history. Like,
but it was you know, what's funny is that he just.
Yeah, people don't think about that.
The more I'm studying history, I guess we're gonna segue to the next part of the conversation. Now that we're straying away from human acceptance.
Yeah. Human acceptance, right? Yeah, it's probably the topic. Yeah.
No, how much he changed history, how much.
Yeah, dude.
How much but that's just according to the history that we're living to now. The societies and the cities that we've built have all been kind of replicated of all those ancient societies, and everything that happened in that Mediterranean, European, Northern African area, Middle Eastern area. But I don't know why. I mean, the Chinese celebrate their year at a different day than we do. They have the Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
But I might be wrong about this, but I think they still go by the years like we go by the years.
Yes. Yeah. It's just easier.
Yeah, it's just easier. And then, you know, English is the golden language.
Yeah.
It's just something that we've accepted as a world. But it's just kind of funny how everything is shaped to how, I guess,
the leader, like the whoever's the leader of whoever's the biggest dog, I guess, in the fight.
Yeah.
That's what the rest of the world now is going to be following. I mean, it was usually to like the rest of the known world, you know, but now it's the rest of the world, right? Like, I mean, even you could talk Roman period. Like, if the Romans were in France or Spain or even the Middle East and even up to China, like to South Asia, they were speaking Roman there, or even the gods. Some of those, like, there's Buddhas.
In Asia?
There's Buddhas in India that have Roman, have Roman crowns.
Yeah, well,
like
that part of the world was heavily,
but that's what
not
I'm saying,
heavily, but it was trafficked.
Whatever the
because
big dog is at the time in the known world is kind of what the rest of the common world is, or the rest of the world is just going to be like accepting as fact or time or whatever, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
China is that big monster that's kind of like tries to refuse Western society, but even them at a certain point, you know, they had to. I mean, that was like the moment China stopped becoming a communist country and accepted Western society. Capitalism. Was where the whole world started, like the 99% of the world just went, okay, we're following the U.S. You know, like that was the like that will for sure in 100 or 500 years going to be known as like the time where the whole world was dominated by one country. Like after China was like throwing the towel of communism, you know, because even the Soviet Union doesn't have nowhere near the same amount of population as China, you know. So was a fucking game changer. But
I think that's going to be the next money grab for Trump.
China,
maybe he's trying to go to North Korea so that way he can go into China.
And yeah,
like that's like, dude, there's so many fucking.
North Korea is so weird because it's like, you know this probably, that it borders Russia, it borders China, it borders South Korea, and it's like 100 miles away from Japan.
Yeah.
So it's bordering the two biggest, I mean, I guess allies, but rivals, like like global rivals of the U.S., right? Russia and China. Uh-huh. And then you have Japan, Japan and South Korea are like the biggest allies of, like, have US. To be allies of the U.S. So that whole zone right there is just so like, just don't fuck up, Trump. Just don't fuck up. That's, dude,
the scary part is that
the scariest part right now.
The West Coast is the closest to that. I mean, given that the Pacific is the biggest fucking ocean.
That's still thousands of miles away, right? Or like 1,000 miles away. Seoul from North Korea is like 30 miles away or 35 miles from here to like fucking downtown LA or like North Hollywood is basically where North Korea and Seoul is not even.
I didn't know that.
It's super close, dude. It would be there in like less than 30 seconds if it was a rocket. Yeah. So South Korea is fucked. Like hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people, would die if something would happen. But that's one of those things where it's like, as a person who just, if I was a leader, as crazy as a leader as I would be, you have to just know that you don't fuck with the biggest dog like that. Like,
well, not only that, you don't.
You have no allies, man. Like, they have China, but not really. China's been backing off of North Korea for a couple of years now. Russia is like, they have bigger fish. Like they're not worried about North Korea, and like you said, racism runs deep in those cultures. They're not going to ally with an Asian country.
Yeah,
they never have. Like, historically speaking, they never have. Why would they do it now? Just to fight the U.S.? They rather befriend the U.S. than befriend the Asians. Like, that sounds fucked up, but that's, historically speaking, they would have never done that. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, they went to war with Japan 100 years ago just because of that. They didn't want to be. They didn't want to have Asians to be as equals to Russians, and Russians are like not even really white people. You know, they're all fucked up too. But
yeah.
Like, that's not going to happen, man. And then, like, when people think of that, that's that conspiracy theory of, like, is North Korea just a ploy to get Americans on edge, or to, like, for them to have some type of fear engraved in them, or to detract from the Russia conspiracy that's going on, or, like, not even the Russian conspiracy, the Russian scandal that's going on. Right.
I remember
be more worried about North Korea than Russia.
The moment that came out, the whole Russian scandal, fucking, Trump went right to Twitter and said, "Oh my God, I can't believe the Barack Obama administration was fucking surveilling my campaign when I was there." I was like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You won, first off. Like,
yeah.
Like, you won, but now you're trying to fucking just distract.
If Obama would have ever said that, impeachable right there. Impeachable comment. Impeachable tweet.
Damn.
And he could say that because he's a white guy.
Well,
like,
it's not
weird, you know.
That dude, he's
a white guy, but he's in the red team, and the red team is just like
he's a reality TV star, and he knows what he needs to say to get the ratings.
Yeah, literally, exactly. And he knows how to please his core, man. That's what it is, you know.
I've read some books on how to be successful, and having the perseverance and having a clear and precise goal,
and that's
how
good. He works,
and that's how he works.
Yeah,
but he does it well. You know, he fucking won the presidency, so congratulations to him. But are you doing it for the right reasons? The guy for McDonald's, what's his name? Fucking Ray Kroc? The guy that basically branched out. But I don't know. I saw it in that movie, The Founders.
Oh, okay.
After reading one of my success books, he was in one of them.
Cool. Okay.
And I was like, oh shit, this guy actually, took the McDonald's franchise, had a vision for it, and sold it. But then when I saw the movie, I saw how he took somebody's restaurant There's two McDonald brothers, and they had the restaurant in San Bernardino. You haven't seen the movie?
I haven't seen the movie, but
it's pretty cool.
Like I know a little bit of the story behind McDonald's, but yeah. I saw the trailer for it, but it looks cool. I mean, I like the act. What's his name?
Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah. He's really good. And the other two guys that come out in it are pretty good actors as well. But yeah, he was a salesman. He was a salesman for selling milkshake makers. So it's like like fucking 10 cups, and then it would you'd have the blender in each one of them, and then it was just a simple fucking milkshake maker.
Yeah.
And he was traveling salesman going place to place, but everyone's like, dude, we don't sell that much ice cream. We don't do that. And then he saw how much
the McDonald's brothers.
Yeah, the McDonald's brothers were selling, and then like, the McDonald's brothers would call in the orders like, "Hey, dude, we need so much. Can you supply him?" He's like, "Yeah, I can do that, but are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, no, we need him. Just fucking whatever it takes, bring him down here. Let's get him." And he took notice. He saw the vision that he saw the restaurant. He liked it. He's like, "Dude, we can do this. We can make this bigger than it really is." Eventually, it turned into something big and crazy that the original brothers didn't want to happen, so they just sold it off to him. And I mean, congrats! McDonald's is the fucking one of the biggest corporations in the world. Yeah. They make some of the most. They're probably within the top 5 companies in the world.
Yeah.
And congrats to them. But was it really for a good cause? I think ultimately, what the fundamental factor of it is he wanted money. And he got it, and it was a success. But should that be your fundamental reason of trying to win?
Yeah.
What's Trump's fundamental reason of winning? Does he really want to help us out?
I get that's what he says, right? He wanted to drain the swamp and get rid of politicians in Washington and get rid of corruption in Washington and get rid of these tycoons. Although he has the richest cabinet. He has the richest like this is just what the facts are, and this is where like arguing with these people it just gets so weird because, he's somebody different. He's a fresh take as a president. His cabinet isn't. His cabinet is a lot of the same. Like more of the same of Wall Street executives who just moved from Merrill Lynch. Another Merrill Lynch executive that goes down to become the Secretary of Treasury. Not like all these, like
that Betsy DeVos lady, right?
Yeah, she has nothing. She knows nothing of education, but now is the Secretary of Education. And what? Like how? But that's so fun. Like funny. Or like he just appointed last week, the head scientist of the EPA, I believe, to this Wall Street guy. They asked him, what were your qualifications as head scientist of the EPA? And he said, I don't have any. Next day, because he said that, he's like, I actually don't have a lot of much of a science background, but I have a great background when it comes to business. And the reporter was like, you do realize this is the EPA? I think it's the EPA, or like he became head scientist of one of those organizations.
Yeah.
The next day he had it, like he took himself out, and Trump was like, I think he put like a mean tweet of like, oh, he should have been the head scientist, but couldn't take much of the media, sad or whatever, But it was one of those like, this guy doesn't know, like, how can he be the head scientist and be in charge of all these scientists who have their PhDs, and he's just a Wall Street guy.
Yeah.
What? Like that's where you get into that like how like. This is at least Obama. Like, whatever you might feel about Obama, like at least his head scientist had a Nobel Prize in science. At least that was something that he like. At least this guy has a background in the language. How can you be the head of something and not even understand the language of whatever you're speaking?
Yeah,
that's so like that sounds so fucking surreal for me, and like that's what keeps me up at night, but that's what like. How do those people suspend that belief?
Yeah.
Like where do people stop going? That doesn't matter. What? Science, and that's what those people like kind of like with history and religion and politics, which most of the things we kind of carry here, those people don't care about that. they don't think science matters.
Yeah,
at all.
It's weird.
At all, man.
It's weird because I think a lot of the sentiment for like, you know, these Trump supporters is the fact that
Is there a red light there?
I don't see it, bro. Do you?
I'm just realizing you might have never pressed record.
Oh.
I mean, I'm recording. It's gonna be
I
audio.
thought you had done it.
I
That's
think I
why.
did. Check it or press.
Oh, good, man.
It's funny if it. Fuck it. I mean, at least it's audio still. Is it recording? No, it's recording.
Oh my god. Whatever.
Yeah. All right. Well, fucking pause it. I mean, there's no point of yeah. Stop it. Because there's no point of having. Probably gonna wrap up like within the next what do you say, like 20 minutes or so,
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes. There's really no point. To our unbeknownst.
It's all right, man.
To our dub cells, it's late. It's Monday, guys. We have the case of the Mondays.
No,
and,
no need to see
I'll
what
put
we
a
got
pretty
here.
cool, fancy photo, and then I mean,
Yeah.
at least we got the audio working. You know what, dude? Like this is one of those classic. You got the cobwebs out of the fucking. You know, you got to take out the cobwebs before you start actually working on something.
Yeah.
Or like you gotta stretch out before you start running.
Yeah.
This is one of those. Yeah,
Dude.
we need
every
to stretch.
technical error we hit tonight, dude. Fuck.
The
man.
audio was cool, and then I just realized I'm like, you know what? Like maybe I didn't press record. Did you press
No.
record?
No.
Nope.
Well, that's
Which
a
is
fellow-
fine,
our
man.
both
I mean,
is,
now it's a true podcast. It's just audio.
yeah.
But like I was saying with those people, man, like it's so hard to argue with those people because like they're basing things on a book, on one book. On a book they probably haven't even read that well.
What is it? What,
Like on the Bible, right? Or whatever book.
Oh, are you talking about Trump supporters or just?
Yeah, let's talk about Trump supporters, right? Like those people, like having a conversation like this with them. Like if let's say right next to us was a fucking dude from Wyoming who's a farmer who's a Trump supporter and hard leaning evangelical.
Yeah.
How where do you start off on an argument? And this is where that guy Sam Harris, who's like he's a UC, like a UCLA what's it called, he's a brain surgeon, a neuroscientist. There you go, neuroscientist.
Oh, shit.
And he said that there's stages of argument.
Yeah.
And if you can't get past the first stage of argument, which is what's going on, it's the first time in I think 100 years or 150 years. The last time this has happened was the Civil War.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's why. Where his comment is that it's been 150 years where the United States hasn't been at the stage of base one argumentative conversation where you can't have an argument with the person because you can't have the common language of what a fact is or isn't.
Yeah.
And that's like you can't get into the conversation of race or climate change. That's a big one for them. But like let's say even let's go with reasons why they voted for this person and reasons why they didn't, or reasons why they don't like Hillary Clinton. Well, they believe she's probably the devil, like reincarnated. And then you go, well, okay, that's funny. Like, and they're like, no, it's not funny. Like, that's what I really believe in.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, all right, I can't get back. I can't even get to base two of stats and believing those stats or believing of trying to put your position on there. And your position usually includes some type of number or some type of, article or something. But if you don't even believe the article because it's fake news, well, then how can you even fucking, like, what's the point of even going further than that? Because you can't even get your source in. You get what I mean? Which is really weird. Say like record, so we can at least record like a little bit of the visual, the visual for the Instagram post.
For sure.
Total like.
Want me to push it?
Yeah, fucking press it. Because I'm like, at least we could do that a little bit, right? Yeah. Oh man, and it's so weird. Like when you take off the headphone, it feels like it's like just putting on the headphone a little bit. All right, let's go. This is a cobweb episode. This is the stretching episode again, man.
Warming up.
This is the warm up episode. But I think that's what's the weird thing when it comes to arguing with those people. And I haven't. Like there's one person last year when I was in the history club who was a Trump supporter. That he was a student. He was like 19, 20 years old, but he was still the type of guy who could give some type of reasoning on why he wasn't a Hillary supporter. And it was one of those, okay, I see your point. Like he had some insightful perspective on why. Didn't agree with it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But at least he wasn't like, yeah, I'm not gonna vote for a Latino loving president, or like, oh, I'm never gonna vote for. He wasn't sexist, he wasn't racist, he just had, and you could tell it was through his family, either his parents, that he has this opinion over Hillary. And he had some dates, and like I said, like he had some, like the Clinton Foundation, and how can we trust her if she has this, and there's been some connections with Russia with her, and you're like, oh, those are interesting perspectives. I could see why you would sway more towards Trump. Like you believe in something new and fresh. I get that. That's kind of what Bernie was in the left, Okay, interesting, But imagine a person who isn't like that's like, as a person who hasn't had those conversations with somebody like that, who has the religious aspect of that, like who knows people who are in that perspective when it comes to religion. Imagine that with like politics and science, where they're like, yeah, the sun isn't like, or like the flat earthers, right? Like that's how is that trending again, man?
I don't think there's very many legitimate scientists that are flatland believers.
No, none. No, there's no scientists.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, let these people believe what the fuck they want.
Do you feel like the internet just highlights those people? Like, because maybe let's say there's like 10,000 of those people in a 300 million, like that's like what, 0.0003 or something. It's a very small community, but because it's so fucking funny and hilarious or crazy that these people believe in this, you watch it and you're like, whoa. So it becomes bigger than what it's like. You're putting like an ant in a magnifying glass. Yeah. So it looks a lot bigger than what it really is. Yeah. I feel like that's kind of where those cultures get, how that culture might be getting into our, our conversations, where you're like, oh man, it's kind of weird how that's going on. But it's at the end of the day, like those people, like, what's that thing? The survival, like where evolution is just kind of, societal evolution is just gonna kick in, and those guys are just you're not gonna have to worry about those people but
ultimately, I mean, that's, if that's what they want to believe, that's fine. I mean, it's not really gonna change their life. You know what I'm saying? It's not really gonna change your life. People can have their own beliefs about whatever they want. It's when people start acting on their beliefs and start trying to force it on other people is that it becomes an issue. People can have their own opinion about, something as simple as homosexuality or transgenderism or whatever the fuck it is. But it becomes an issue if I start having my agenda saying, hey, no, being gay is a choice. Yeah. Even though like probably 90% of the people in the world know that it's not a choice. It's a hormonal imbalance.
90% though? It's probably not. Like it in the US is probably like, there's probably some states that it's 90% the opposite. They probably don't think it's like, they're like, no, it's a sin. Like you're born sinner if you're, homosexual or transgender.
Yeah. But whatever it is, I just feel like, dude, you're entitled to your own belief. Even if you're a racist, you're entitled to your own belief, in my opinion. Yeah. It's when you start acting on it that starts becoming an issue. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like that's where that little opportunity, that moment or that area of opportunity, that's what really interests me of like where can you help that person maybe enlighten that person on perhaps not your agenda or your perspective on things, but it's like you said, for when it comes to like perhaps like let's use fucking like not even because global change or global warming is like I feel like that's because it's through time that like I'm reading this book right now of like it's called Don't Think Like an Elephant, like, or like Don't Think of an Elephant, and it like plays the words of like if you're not thinking of an elephant, what are you thinking of now? You're thinking of an elephant. So it's like that, like, but it talks about like how liberals have to find a way of connecting with Republicans who are elephants, right? Like, and it's like don't just automatically go, oh, they're dumb. This is why. Like, there's a lot of smart Republicans that and it's an interesting play on this conversation on like what we're talking about right now, but he has like this really weird way of connecting how like the way we think is very, very different than the way 75, at least what social scientists have done, where 75% of Republicans have just a male dominated father figure, that usually the mother doesn't have a job, that is just it's an extreme what's not an egalitarian, but like what's that type of society, or like that paternal society, right, where it's father figure says, and like there's books on this, like George Bush, like there's paternal language in politics, like there's a course on this, on I think like a Harvard course on how to use paternal language to register with Republican voters. And he uses this example on how George Bush said we shouldn't have to act, like where it was a UN where they try to ask permission for the UN to go to Iraq, and the US was like, why would we ask permission to go to Iraq where we're protecting the globe? Like that paternalism comes in, right? Of like the US's father, the whole world is our son.
Yeah,
we have to protect it. And it's so fucking weird. And the opposite is usually said about most Democrats, where I think like 75 or 65 to 75% of most Democrats or liberals have a dual family. The way they were brought up in a family was the father perhaps was not extremely paternalistic or extremely, that male, like tough male figure. It was still a male figure, but there was some, at least either the mom worked or there was some type of balance of getting through this together as a family, not as just the father does it, and be thankful for the father that this is why you have all this shit.
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, fuck, like they have this shit down to a fucking science, and that's the way they're thinking of it. And they understand that that's their base. And I go like, man, like, okay, like, yeah, most of the people that I know that are probably Republicans. If I could be into something, like if it wasn't history, because I think it's great to know your history too. If I could double major in something, it would probably be that. But I would like all that math, all that math just to do all the stats and stuff. It's just all that number crunching just gives me a headache. But it's reading that that's just a factor that I valuing that information is something I hold value to, because I was raised through that way. My family values that the educational system in that way, in that sense. But there's a lot of families that don't even value educational system for shit. Like they value God above all else, right? I mean, you ask, I think most of the politicians in the 2016 or the 2017 or 2016 race, like they can't put country above God. They go like, I have the three most important things in my life: God, my family, and the country of the United States. This great, beautiful country. Like God is above their family, man. And that's where you're like, what? Like that's some not psycho shit, but that's something I can't connect with. And it's so weird how millions of Americans are seeing something like that and going, oh man, like he gets me. God is above everybody else. Fuck that. There's some weird hatred toward like these people who are extreme religious fanatics, right? Or not even fanatics, but just let's call them just the evangelical, right? Or like they have some really big issues with the rest of the world, like where they're putting like everybody else above them. Like this imaginary figure is more important than your neighbor. to the left or right. It's fucking dark, man. Like I don't get it at all. But
no, I mean I understand it. I know religion historically has played a big part in the structure of the family, structure of a society, language. I mean, I know back in the day that it was the religious figures that were very educated.
Yeah,
but
I don't think religion is at fault. I think the people who abuse the power of religion are at fault. I don't think the religion that's where I differ from like the atheists or like those like, you know, extreme atheists are like religion should just be like discontinued as a whole, you know. I don't necessarily think that's the proper solution for it. No. I could see that becoming a possibility within like the next 100 years as like a person who would think of that like I could see that becoming more of a reality. But that doesn't mean that religion will ever go away, because that is our foundation for our politics. Like, you know this, you know, like our laws. Our golden rule is still like you just don't kill people. You know, like treat others
the way you'd like to be treated,
right? But like that's part of our constitution still, right? Like that. I mean,
no,
in a sense, like not capital punishment.
There's no rules against racism and fucking bigotry.
But there's rules against murder.
Yeah,
that's definitely something that has been inspired through religion. You know, like it's not unless it's through an act of war, because that's justifiable. But like, there's a lot of the foundations of how we think as a society is based on our Christian beliefs.
Yeah, but there's also the argument where people have said natural law, like I don't need religion to tell me that killing somebody is wrong.
Yeah, that's the argument right now. That's the argument that's going on right now. I think in 100 years, I think those two positions are going to evolve into something unique, where like I would say the majority of people are like, when we're in our 60s and 70s, where we're the oldest people living, usually, probably, if no advances in science occurs, most people, like I would say the majority of Americans that are about our age are in this idea of like religion is important, but it's not the end all be all. But it's there. It's a good tool to have for society. Mm-hmm. That's the way I think most people are going to see it. But I feel like that's, if we're going to be looking at religion in that way, I would say the majority of us in 60 years, the new radicals are going to be having a completely new perspective on it. You know, I think that's probably like, you know, those people are going to be more inclined to going, well, we should just dissolve it in general. You know, like there's a lot of things that religions still have.
I think there's even studying history is that you see the parts where people are religious and overly religious, and then all of a sudden they start changing from their religion. During the scientific revolution, I think people started going more to natural law.
Yeah.
Or even before that, I mean, during the Roman Empire and all that, religion was big time. I mean, I know the Holy Roman Empire was not really, holy, because they really didn't spread their religion. I think they accepted everybody's religion. I mean, they did kind of force religion on some people.
Yeah, there was an interesting truce with the Muslims at the time.
Yeah.
Around that time, yeah.
But anyhow, after that, it was the Dark Ages and the bubonic plague and all that shit that happened. And religion, nobody really believed. Not a lot of people believed in the traditional sense of the religion. They went back to what the Greeks were teaching and the Greek gods and shit like, not shit, but things like that. As opposed to just thinking of just Christianity and Judaism and Muslim. I think there were the three main religions.
Middle Ages, there's Muslims already. Yeah, there's Islam at the time.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. It's like I think the perspective or like the opinion I have when it comes to like where I see religion heading towards is kind of almost is becoming more of like I guess like a historical tool to remember our like our foundations of how we live the way we live today, and like understanding that and going like that's interesting, but or like that's cool, like that's so cool that how these people believed in these tales and how much we learn from these stories.
Yeah,
because you could learn a lot from those stories.
Yeah,
but as for the what is it, like the faith part, man, I don't see. I don't like. All right, let's put ourselves in like in 200 years, if humans don't blow themselves up,
yeah.
do you see Christianity or Islam or Judeo, like or the Jewish religion? Mm-hmm. Do you see those religions, if it's becoming, the millennials right now are statistically the first time in 2,000 years that that 50% or more are claiming to have no real connection with religious person. They might go to church, they might do that, but they might not believe entirely that there's an actual like religious or like a Jesus Christ. Like, they don't believe the whole story. They just attend, right?
Yeah.
Where do you see that in 200 years?
It's true. I really wish more people would be into religion, to tell you the truth, because I mean, fundamentally, and I really believe this. Fundamentally, I believe that every religion is good.
Yeah.
Every religion starts off with good intentions, and then somebody disagrees with it and wants to go their own way, or somebody abuses their power and wants to go their own way. Why do you think there's Protestants and Catholics? It's the same religion. What is it? The Muslims. There's Sunnis and there's Shiites. Mm-hmm. I mean, and they're going to war with each other over things. And even in Christianity, there's what branch from Christianity? Mormonism, evangelicals,
Lutherans.
Yeah, well,
Lutherans,
Protestants.
Lutherans
was from Catholics, I believe, right? Well, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's all just people taking it their own way.
I still to this day don't even understand the difference between like a Presbyterian and a Lutheran and a Protestant. Like, I don't know what their core values or their core difference are.
Yeah, and
I don't know. I don't
it's strange, and then when it ultimately comes down to is like, dude, we all kind of tend to like the same fundamental things. We love our families. We want to protect each other. And primary religion, the core of every religion just always preaches love. But then people start getting all fucked up where it's like, no, my type of love is the way everybody should love each other.
Yeah.
And it becomes like, dude, that's what's going on? I mean, I don't want to hurt you. Why do you want to hurt me? And
and I think that's where some people would say that that's the fundamental issue with having religion in society is people will interpret these non-factual conversations in their own way because they're open to interpretation. That's the beauty in it, and that's also like the dark part of it, is that they're open to interpretation, and human beings are power seekers. Like that's their natural survival instinct to be a power seeker. So if they know that they could change this or tweak this for their own benefit, they'll do that. Now, and this is where you get into that, like, what would be the better solution than religion for peaceful cultures? Fuck, I don't know. I don't think there is.
Smoking a J.
I don't think it's created yet, or like I don't think it's been revealed yet. But I think it will in a soon to be continued time. Like,
I don't know what it is.
Like if I had the ability to, and I think Stephen Hawking said this, like if the human race understood that there was an opponent in the system, in the solar system, or in the universe, that would bring or unify human beings as a race, and almost eliminate entirely racism, because now we have a common enemy. And this is why, like, as comic book or graphic novels go, like, this is why that Watchmen movie, which you've watched, you know?
No, I haven't seen it.
No, like, the brilliance of that movie is like, or that Dr. Manhattan character, who's like kind of like Superman. He's like that, like, you know, all powerful being that just can't die, basically. Or he realizes that human beings would only be peaceful and prosperous as a globe if they have a common enemy. And I feel like somewhere along the line, some evil, or not evil, but some person is gonna go, fuck, like, this is probably the best way of eliminating the factors of religious competition, instead of going, okay, like, now religious competition is one thing, but competition as humans versus fucking gargoyles of like Martians or whatever, you know, like, that's another thing. So we need to drop our differences for this. I think until that day comes, like, that's gonna always be there. But I think within the next like 100 years, I just don't see how. But I feel like that's something that like every person has tried, or maybe not every person, but like that's something that perhaps every generation has tried to find a solution of, like, how can we better ourselves from this, or from not better ourselves, but how, like, I guess you want, or as a, that's, I guess, something that you see, like, there is an area of improvement or of evolution in that aspect of our society, and you go, well, fuck, like, what is the missing link? You know, like, what, like, you can't just take it away. You have to, like, if you take it away, it's gonna, like, almost like, it's not like a Jenga piece where if you take it away, it's still gonna be it's still gonna hold true. Like, society will hold true. I don't think so. Like, so you almost, I don't know, like, I'm trying to use like an analogy or metaphor for something where you would replace it. So it you know, almost like putting your finger into a hole, like a, you know, if the boat's sinking, you can't just like pat, or, you know, if you patch it, it might work for a while, but that's fine. But like, maybe like, you know, put I guess poking your hole in the like, if in the sinking ship, that's momentary, but there must be something that you have to like find to actually patch it up. And there needs to be a patch in society with religion. You can't just poke a hole at it for a while and replace it. It's gonna keep, like, there needs to be more, like, there needs to be an advancement. And just to be like, oh, no religion, that's the way we think now as society, that's not gonna work either. But what's the patch? Like,
it's got to be something people believe in. But honest, new religions are being invented every day. I mean, Scientology, 30 years ago was probably not even relevant, and now it's one of the biggest religions.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if it's one of the biggest religions, but it's definitely one of the most
Talks
financially.
At least in LA, that's for sure. Yeah, but like, I mean, it's just it's popular in the sense of like it's pop culture relevant to be like Scientology, at least, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of other religions out there, but that's one of those. And I could see people get it, like, why they're into that. I can see why people are into religion, but I also see like the atheist perspective of it, and then I just see the perspective of to further evolve or to further like progress, like, politics aside, like, I feel like the politics question has gone away. Like when people go, communism and socialism are are perhaps solutions to our political progress as a society. It's kind of like, let's just kind of stick to the one that's working right now. Like, it's
improvements to what we're.
It's the best solution we've had, and it's the best one. Like, it's track record wise, it's worked the best in history. And
what we have now?
Democracy, like a democracy.
No, dude, kingdoms have.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying like in the past 500. I mean, all right, but like, equality for the
We haven't found the balance yet. That's
No,
what
I'm
a lot
saying,
of people don't realize. We haven't not found that balance.
But kingdoms, like the peasants, like were like the peasants of the of kingdoms were economically way inferior than quote unquote peasants, which would be like the lower middle class of today. You know, like
it was peasants, then it was the lords, and then it was
yeah. But I'm saying like as in the spread of wealth has been the greatest in democracy than there is in fucking like feudalism, which is like that, like you know, Western society type king lordship night shit. Yeah, like the spread of wealth has been way better, right? But that like what's the advancement, or like that's where I feel like people who feel like that's the change that needs to be done. It's like, yeah, that's probably like that could work, but like that's like you're putting your energy perhaps in the wrong. I mean, not wrong, right? But like that's like that might not be the most useful way of putting your energy for like not a revolution, but like for what could succeed or like what could better society, right? And for me, I feel like that like finding a better solution of adapting people or the majority of people who don't have a religious background anymore on how they're going to be able to find happiness in long-term life perspective without the use of a religious deity supervising you. You get what I mean? Like that's the patch that needs to be done in society that is going to like, I feel like it's going to just like totally like once that's done, it's going to just like bond a lot more people, and that's just going to be like a game changer in society, I think. But I don't know, and like this president's not going to do that, you know, like he's not doing it at all. Presidents haven't been able to do that. Like that's not even part of the conversation right now, you know?
That's not part of their job either.
Yeah, it's not part of their job. But I think in like 40 or 50 years when we're becoming the older generation, that's definitely one of those topics that I feel like most like, wait, are we a Christian nation? I thought we were just a nation of Americans. Like, why is Christian nation? Like, why are we? Yeah, like that's where the Christmas Starbucks. You know, have you heard about this or no?
They changed something.
Yeah, like
cups, right?
Yeah, it was like Happy Holidays instead of Christmas.
Yeah, well, they've always. I mean, I worked retail, dude. I fucking remember that. We used to have to say, instead of Merry Christmas, we had to say Happy Holidays.
Yeah.
It's all good, man. I mean, we have to be tolerant.
Yeah,
I guess in certain manners, but then again, as an individual, you should be tolerant of everybody else too. You shouldn't just if you want tolerance, you yourself have to be tolerant. So I feel with your religion, if something offends your religion, you just got to be tolerant of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're gonna choose a certain thing and choose and you expect to be accepted as a certain thing, you have to learn to accept everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like if I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna be dressed as a football player. Now, I want everybody to address me as a football player. I'm gonna have to be ready to accept everybody else that's not accepting me as a football player. You know, someone says, "No, you're not a football player." So, no, I am. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And you have to accept that. Like, I think the more acceptance we have, you can be whatever fucking religion you want.
Yeah.
But that to me would be the barrier that we need to break is that
acceptance.
It's acceptance. Yeah. But how do you do it when you have fucking people that are very narrow minded?
It's how do you do it where a lot of those religions have, especially the older religions, have like, you know, and I'm kind of going towards Islam here, where it's not in it's not in the Quran, right, to blow up buildings, or it's not in that. That's not part of that.
None of that.
But there is some odd like like there's some interesting connections that you could make with that area of the world and how they've been able to bubble up this anti-Western hatred, or this Western society hatred grouped with religion, and to seeing that they're the solution to the world, because that's where I get like that, like this is where like that's that sticky situation where like you don't want to like downplay one religion or going like that's the their fault is because they're religious. No, like that's not their fault. Like that's not the fault of why that country is the way it is. Or there's a lot of layers to that issue.
Yes.
Like oil is a big one, right? Like that oil is a big reason why that location it's a lot easier to drain, to put the straw in their milkshake, like that there will be blood reference if there's instability in that country versus a stable country that will reject, that is unified against the United States or the Western countries who are abusing who are basically sucking that country, sucking those countries dry of their resources because they're so unstable that they put their own person, like the Vietnam case where like like CIA try to put their own mule, or like not mule, but like they're like their own hired hand in as president of Vietnam. What's the term I'm looking for? Like where they like try to pawn, the political pawn. That's what the U.S. is doing right now when it comes to like Iran and Saudi Arabia. They have their pawns there.
So they did to Iraq.
Yeah, of course, but that's why I don't think religion is the main reason for that. That's where you get resources, and geography is just a big factor in why some countries are successful and some aren't. Some countries are fucked and some aren't,
That's why I always try to explain to people it's, there's Muslims and, the people that are creating the terrorism from the Middle East, it's not because they naturally hate the United States. There's something behind there. Yeah. And I try to explain to them, dude, in the 80s and the 90s, fucking, we had our hands deep in there, and Russia had their hands deep in there, and just everything has a trickle down effect. Yeah. One example that I'll use is the current state we're in, where there's a lot of racism that's going on. There's not very many racist people that I encounter every day. And even these Trump supporters, if you ask them, a lot of them are not racist. A lot of them are just normal people. But we have to deal with what's the word I'm looking for? The fallout from the racism that happened in the past. Yeah. And it's not that... And a lot of these things are generational as they go away.
It was... Your great-grandpa or your great-great-grandfather was probably in the Civil War, or he was probably alive in the Civil War. That's the one thing that people, like, let's say our parents, right? They're 50, 60 years old. Their parents were 90, so they were born in the 1920s. Their parents, so maybe our parents' grandfathers, which is our great-great-great-grandfathers, were either post-Civil War, 1870s, 1880s, or were totally alive when Southern, Jim Crow laws were completely alive. Yeah. So how do you get culture? Like, it's one of those, like, society's moving a lot faster than the history and the emotion of people who are still living through these moments, who are still alive, like that's I feel like that's where you're trying to go with that, where like it's really hard for people to like, people are hitting the fast forward button, and we're not moving that fast.
We're still on play.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that working with the youth, a lot of these kids hate Donald Trump, and it's going to be sad for the Republicans in a while. It's going to be very sad for them. If they think
that's what people said about Bush, man, and look at that was only 10 years ago.
Yeah, but we're seeing the last part of the fallout of this racism.
Okay.
So that's just my personal belief. It's we're seeing the back end of it.
Yeah.
Eventually it's gonna die out. You
So
can't.
you're in the boat. You're in the team where this is the last stand of white racism in the United States.
Yeah.
This is like their last.
The last hurrah. This is the
Yeah, the last hurrah.
This is the
Yeah,
last
yeah.
thing they could hold on
And
to.
then after this, it's all downhill
Yeah.
from there.
Well,
Or not.
racism's gonna have to.
Yeah.
Racism's gonna have to end.
Yeah.
That's as a country as diverse as the United States, as accepting as we try to be. You can't be accepting, or you can't get the best out of a country if you only accept a certain race of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna get the best.
Not
You're
now. Not in this
Day and age,
Yeah,
no.
not in this not in this fucking century. Like that's just not going to happen anymore.
Dude, there's going to be advances in the sciences
Yeah.
more than just from one race or one group of people. There's going to be more, there's going to be more different types of art from just different types of people, athletes, everything. So it's beautiful to have diversity, and I mean, white people are the majority and were the majority for the longest time here in the States. I mean, I was just at a kid's birthday party on Saturday. None of the kids there were of one ethnicity. They were all mixed.
Yeah.
All of them were mixed. And you can't have a racist mentality when that's just the way society's just not advancing in that way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
I
even if
think
there is some racist
society since like I would say the 80s,
Yeah.
for sure the 70s, for sure the 80s, but by the
70s
I would say the
and 80s.
70s was like the Kickstarter for television, pop culture, I guess that's what we're trying to say, has been shifting towards acceptance of all cultures.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is that that's only 40 years. You have kids who the president was alive in he was already 20 years old in the 70s, you know? So yeah, like in his early 20s.
I mean, just
in his
put
late
it-
70s. So
put it this
you know,
way.
he doesn't have that.
The
you know?
first president was in 1776,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
George Washington.
Yep.
So now, it's what, 2017? How many years is that?
It's like 330 years. Or 350 years.
Somewhere around that.
Right? Am I doing that right?
300?
Yeah, no, 250 years. Because it was 1976. That's 200. So 76 to now. So 76 to 2016. What was that? 40 years. So 241 years.
Okay, yeah. So in 241, whatever the
Yeah.
math is,
Yeah.
I'm not going to take the calculator
So in
out.
about 250 years.
So let's say roughly 250 years, we had our first black president,
Yeah.
you know? Doesn't that tell you something?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he wasn't even black. He was a mixed president. He was half white,
Yeah.
half black.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a fully black president.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that kind of tells you of how much,
how long it takes for changes
how long
to
it's
occur.
Yeah, how long it's changing, and how much progress we still need to make.
Yeah.
So to me, in my mind, I'm like, dude, we gotta survive Trump. We gotta get
will,
out of here, or we
yeah,
just
we
gotta
are.
wait it out, or we
We're
gotta.
gonna survive Trump. He's not gonna get impeached.
I know. I really
he's-
hope he does.
He is definitely not gonna get reelected though. Like, do you think he could? Do you
I
think
don't
there's even an
know.
opportunity of him being
I don't know
reelected?
because I didn't even think he would get elected in the first place.
That's true. No, you know
But-
what? Like, even when November, like that day of the election,
Mm-hmm.
there's a really weird part of me of going like, man, there's some really economically fucked people that have in the Midwest that could see this guy as like, fuck it, let's see. That like that's what some political analysts are saying, like that we haven't seen a lot of movement in Congress or anything because they're trying to see like the midterm elections next year, and if people vote still red, then they'll start seeing more movement. But if they see those Midwest country like states like fucking Illinois and Wisconsin and like Minnesota, like those that what used to be the what's it called, like the what's it called? Well, they call it the Rust Belt now, but it used to be like the Iron Belt or whatever. But like, let's say the Midwest.
Bible
If that
Belt?
start,
Bible Belt?
No, the Bible Belt's like the South, like the deep South. But it's called like they call it the Rust Belt now because it used to be like the industrial belt of the United States, where like Detroit, Michigan, like all that was. But now it's rusted because there's nobody there. Yeah, it's fucked up. Right? It's called the Rust Belt. But so that part of the country, if they start voting blue, then they're gonna be like, well, we gotta disconnect from this Trump character because like he's not what those people want. And honestly, like that's what's important. Like the coast are blue, the South is typically red. It's the Midwest. That's why Ohio and fucking Michigan and Illinois. That's why those states they only get talked about like fucking every 4 years. How sad is that, you know? But that's where it's fucked up how they get to decide what people in California have to fucking do. That's what fucks me up, dude. Where it's like, I don't want to fucking put my faith in a guy that I don't know who lives in fucking Michigan. Like, I don't know if he's getting the shit that I'm like, who knows if he's getting the type of culture diversity that I'm getting, because they're probably not, dude.
Yeah.
At all, you know. Like I want to go see Joe Rogan on last Wednesday, and like there's that Theo Vaughn. It's like some Southern dude from Alabama.
Yeah.
And he talks about a story how there's one Mexican from his K through 12, his whole high school, his whole education. One Mexican in his school, and they called him like just fucking like some Joe the Mexican or something like that. But that he has the whole joke on it and everything. But it's just in a small town in Alabama. I think that's where he's from. Or Alabama or Louisiana. That's all they get. You know, like, and it's white and black people, but white and black people don't even know what it like when they talk about border control and Mexico. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never met a Mexican, so I don't know. I guess they are all rapists. And, like they don't know. So when they get that, then it's cool. But as Angelinos that we are, like we could tell you the difference between a Filipino and a Vietnamese. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People like we take that shit for granted so bad, so hard, but that's where I go like, man, like I don't like to put my trust on people who don't have the same amount of diversity that we have, but that we're lucky enough to have. And it's also like, well, that's probably where we should spread out a little bit more, you know, and brown up this country a little bit. But that's why I think Trump could get reelected, but no, I don't see it, man. I don't see it happening. Like too much of the media has just been hating on him. It's cool to hate him now, you know?
It's kind of ridiculous, the whole political system we have, but that's a different conversation. But he knew how to win the electoral votes, and he did it. So hopefully we don't have to go through that again, but that needs to be changed.
All right, man. Let's wrap this up. It's been here for fucking 2.5 hours now. This is a cobweb episode, a stretching episode. Sorry for only recording like 20-30 minutes of it, but at least we got something.
Yeah.
And this is cool. Like, I think there's a lot to cover, and we straight up, what's it called, like hopscotched a lot of them. You know, like we're just jumping from like little parts of this, but
we stayed in the same playground.
We stayed in the same playground, what we usually do, but I definitely do think that like in the coming months for sure, it's gonna be some interesting shit, especially like this whole this whole tax bill that's coming up in the next like week or so. Yeah. That's gonna be some news that's one of those things that like
the FBI investigations.
Oh, who knows where that's gonna go, dude? Like that's
it's exciting.
That's our Watergate, man. That's gonna be our Watergate for sure. Like the Russian investigation. There's never been a 9/11 or a George Bush investigation. There's never been an Obama investigation, a Bill Clinton. There sort of was a little bit of a Bill Clinton.
Oh, the fucking
yeah. But besides Bill Clinton investigation, which is in the history books, 20 years from now, the Russian investigation is going to be
that's in the history books, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. Fucking
made
Monica
a big
Lewinsky.
deal because he banged a fatty. The fuck.
All right, man. Wrap this up. Yeah. All right, dude.